If you always fall behind when school starts, this year has to be different. I not decide to go back to school, have it being a bit of a shock to the system, your teachers are speaking way too quickly, and the lessons already feel like a step up. But last year, during my A-level year in year 13, I actually prepared for this and got on top of my work right from the off. I don't think it's a coincidence that that year turned out to be my most successful academic year. I got 3 stars in my A-levels, and that led me to go and study maths at Imperial starting September. So in this video today, I'll show you the 5 things that I did in my first couple of weeks of school that helped me stay ahead of the curve right from the off. One bonus thing for those people who are really serious about getting the best grades possible in their exams. Top link in my description is access to my 90-minute masterclass that will provide you with a personalised revision process. And that will be the only one you'll ever need for GCSEs and A-levels to get the best grades possible. There are only limited spaces left, so sign up quickly down below. So we're going to start with the reason why we feel like we are falling behind on day one of school. In reality, from a perfectly outside perspective, there is nothing to fall behind on. We aren't falling behind on day one of school. But we do get that feeling. We feel like we're missing something, we're falling behind. The reason why we get this feeling is because of a change of pace from the summer to the start of school. Say you've been relaxing all summer, understandably, maybe you haven't done a lot of schoolwork. As soon as school starts with quite a high pace. And that means going from the summer pace of very, very slow and just relaxed to the school pace of high and more intense. That feels like a massive jump. And the reason why we feel behind because of that is because we haven't adjusted to that jump in pace. The solution to this is to gradually build your pace over time. And it's not going to be the basic advice of, oh, just get ahead of the content before school starts. We're going to look at how we're going to build up momentum throughout the school year starting now. So that means when it comes to your final exams in the summer of next year, you'll be at your peak performance-wise to get the best grades possible. One thing I've learned is that getting the best grades possible starts from now, September, the moment you start school, and shouldn't start any later than that. So how are we going to gradually build up this pace? The way I did this last year was by creating a 5-step system to make my school life a whole lot easier. A system is a set of steps that you need to follow to go and achieve a goal. For us, the goal will be to get the best grades possible in our GCSEs or A-levels, get into our dream university. Yes, we have a destination, but we now need to think about the steps that we need to take to go and achieve that goal. The reason why this will help you feel like you're not falling behind is because it puts school into context. Once we go through the system, as I'm going to in the remainder of this video, you'll realize that the pace of school and what you need to do actually fits into the system that we're going to create. This video unfortunately can't cover all the small details, but my 90-minute masterclass down below can, and I'll even give you one-to-one support and all the resources you'll ever need to go and create your perfect personalized system. But for now, the main system as an overall outline looks like this. You need to listen in class, make notes in what you've studied in class, revise that content through remembering and memory techniques, test yourself, then rinse and repeat that process for every single subject. Once you have the system, we'll go into it in a bit more detail in a moment. Once you have the system, this will provide you momentum for the rest of the year. And that's so important because that's the only one you'll ever need to use, and you can keep coming back and using it to go and revise for your exams. Essentially, you need to find one method minimum for each of these steps. Rinse and repeat is not really a step, it's more of a concept. So let's leave that for now. But the first step is listening in class. How are you going to make your class as effective as possible to get all the information you need for your exams? The main thing for me is to use bullet points instead of full sentences. I've noticed in my own work and my own revision that when I use bullet points instead of full sentences, my memory becomes a lot better of the content I need to revise. The reason why is because bullet points are way more concise compared to the long form sentences with all the unnecessary words. When you're listening in class, it's very tempting to write down exactly what the teacher puts up on the screen, or it's very tempting to just copy word for word from the textbook. But the moment you take a moment to think and take a look at all the information you really do need and avoid the information you don't need, putting it into bullet points, you've already done a form of processing that information. Copying that information down word for word isn't a form of processing. You're doing it blindly without actively thinking about what you're writing down. Taking a moment to think and writing it down in bullet points means you've processed information. You've already thought about it, and that means you're more likely to remember it in the future. So when you're listening in class as step one, take your notes in bullet points and then go and ask questions to verify your understanding. That's the main tip from me about listening in class. The next part is now making notes from the class notes that you've made. The way you do this is by picking 2 forms of revision notes that you would like to use for every single subject and make notes accordingly. For example, when I was revising philosophy at A level, what I was doing was using flashcards and using essay plans. Those were the 2 forms of my revision notes that I was using for philosophy, and I used nothing else for that subject. The reason why this is useful is because it helps you revise the same content using the same technique in 2 different ways, meaning you're more likely to remember it. If you don't remember it when you're using the flashcards, you have another chance to go and remember it when using essay plans, for example, for me in philosophy. So you turn the notes that you found in class into 2 forms of revision notes per subject. The next thing is to go and start using these notes. Step 3, revising to help you remember that content. The only system that I've ever used for that is the active recall system, which is read a prompt, think about the information on the back of the card or that you need to remember, write that information down, and then test yourself on that information by reviewing it and marking it by flipping over the card or just looking at your notes again. The reason why this works is because you're pulling information out of your head instead of pushing information into your head. By pulling information out, what you're doing is strengthening the pathways for that memory in your brain, because you're actively thinking about the content you need to revise and not just forcing content in by rereading your textbook or highlighting your notes or just watching videos online. You should rinse and repeat this until you fully remember the content. But by having the system in the back of your mind, it may not apply to you right now, but it's really, really important to have so that when it comes to the relevant times in the year, let's say before exams, or if you're just doing some basic revision for whatever reason, having that system in the back of your mind means you won't really think about what you're doing. And that's quite important because revision takes a lot of brain power. Instead, you want to be thinking about the content and not the process of revising it. That should become second nature over time. And the final thing is to test yourself on this content. Yes, the reviewing part in the previous step is sort of like testing, but now we're going to do high stakes testing using past papers and more detailed exam questions that may not be from past papers. My best piece of advice on using past papers is that you should make this a part of your revision. Loads of people go to the end of the year and use past papers right before exams, but I don't think that's too useful. When I came to revise, I was doing 70% of flashcards, long form notes and essay plan revision and 30% of past papers throughout the year. That means I didn't have to really ramp up my past paper usage towards the end of the year, solely because I've got a lot of experience in using past papers over time. Testing yourself is really important. It is a form of active recall and it'll help you to remember the content, the relevant content that you'll need for your exam to get the best grades possible. So that's my system for getting the dream grades in my exams. Not all of the steps, as I said, will be relevant right now, but having a system in place for now, when school starts, means that throughout the year, you can just rinse and repeat this thing. It will make you not feel like you're falling behind, solely because you already know what you need to do. Yes, the teachers may speak too quickly. Yes, it may be a bit of a shock to the system. But once you realise that the start of school is in context, it uses this system, then you're more likely to feel like you're not falling behind and just follow the system throughout the year over and over and eventually get the dream grades in your exams. So if you did find this video useful, I've got the Masterclass, as I said, down below in my description, but I've also got a Discord full of like-minded students that will help you also get the best grades possible if you're not interested in the Masterclass. So if you're interested in either of those, top 2 links in my description, and I'll see you in the next video.